Hello and welcome to Thursdays with Annette. Thanks for joining me today because we're going way back into book 2. Now this book was released in 1999 and you know what, these recipes are still fabulous, thank you very much. And one of them that we're cooking today is one of my favourites out of this book, and it is the chicken stroganoff. Oh my gosh, who doesn't love a good feeder stroggy? Now when I wrote this recipe, I knew that most people thought of stroganoff as beef stroganoff, but I always did it with chicken for some reason. I don't know why. Anyway, so when I wrote it, people said to me, what a great idea to do chicken instead of beef. There you go. But it's also in the Cooking for 1 or 2 cookbook. So you get a chance to win both of them today. I know, so very, very excited. Okay, so let's look at this amazing recipe. I mean, stop it right now. If you've never made this, what have you been, under a rock? I mean, it's so good. Now, what we need for this recipe, and if you hate mushrooms, I'm sorry. I mean, you could just replace it with vegetables, but stroganoff is based with mushrooms, but I'll talk about it a little bit further. So what we start with is 600 grams of skinless chicken breast. There's the mushrooms. We want 3 cups of mushrooms. So if you really hate mushrooms, then just put in 3 cups of, or 2.5 cups of vegetables, because these shrink down quite a bit of the vegetables you like. It will be a little different, but hey, if you hate mushrooms, you won't care. We're going to do a cup of sliced onion. Now, this is the little trick, I know. I was very clever with this recipe, and instead of using sour cream, which of course is what is the story with chicken stroganoff, and I knew, hello, you know, sour cream, heart attack on a plate, can't have it, thank you very much. And how did I get it down to 4.2 grams of fat? Well, there you go. What I did was I used the evaporated light milk instead of putting in cream or, you know, full fat milk, but I put gherkins in. Yes, gherkins were the thing that tanged it up so it tasted like sour cream. So sour cream is one of the main ingredients in a traditional stroganoff, not milk. I don't know why I said milk. Okay, so there's my little story. We're going to put some garlic in, so if you've got fresh, use it, but I like the just the chopped up in the jar. We're going to use some chicken stock powder, no added salt, tomato paste. I've got paprika, another traditional thing that should be in stroganoff. Make sure it's the sweet paprika, not hot paprika, or you'll burn your little tongue off. I've got some corn flour, evaporated milk, but because the can is now smaller, I add in the extra 35 mils of skim milk to make it 375 ml. Bit of pepper, and I've got my fantastic cooking spray, which is the rice bran for this. So, shall we start chopping? All right, maybe I'll do the mushrooms first. So I want 2 cups. 3, I'm sorry. So I've got my 3-cup measure. Honestly, I think this has been with me since I wrote that recipe. But you know what? Oldie good things are fabulous. All right, so just slicing the mushrooms. If they're very big mushrooms, like if they're really big, cut them in half so that they're not so big. They do like shrink down as we cook them. I can remember, you know how I mentioned just before, make sure it's sweet paprika. I was in New Zealand on tour, and whoever bought the ingredients for me, I think the newsagent that was having the promotion bought the ingredients, bought hot paprika. So I'm serving it up and all these people are going red in the face. And one lady said, oh my God, it's so hot. And I'm going, why? It's not a hot dish. It's, you know, like it's got no chili or anything in it. What's going on? And then another lady comes and said, yes, it's really hot. I love it. And I'm like, what? And I tried it. Oh my gosh. It was so hot. Imagine like a tablespoon of chili. That's what it was like. Ah, the memories. And actually saying that, when I did all my, I don't know whether you ever visited me when I was touring with newsagents back in the day, I would make this a lot. This is one of my go-tos. Mango chicken was another one that I made a lot as well. Let's do the gherkins. Now, this is the thing with the gherkins, right? Just going to chop that end off. You want to do it finely, okay? So when you cut it down in thin strips. and then cut it again into strips. So that way then you can get a really fine dice, because you don't want a big chunk of the gherkin in your mouth. But it works an absolute treat. And I remember one time I was making it at home and I actually forgot to put it in, and the kids said to me, "Oh, it's not very tasty, Mum, what's wrong with it?" And I thought, well, you know, we've had it a million times. And then I realised I forgot to put it in. So that's when I realised that it really does give it lots of flavour and really an important ingredient. So don't miss it out. As I say, 2 gherkins, 2 good-sized gherkins. And then I'm just going to go over it again. So we've got it perfect. Oh my gosh, I hope you make this for me this week, because I want to see your photos. I want proof of the pudding, okay? I want to see if, I mean, will you do it with a variation, I wonder? Because you can do it with the chicken, which is 4.2 grams of fat. The rump is 8.6, so you cut that into strips. As veal, which is another one, veal stroganoff was very traditional as well, and that's 4.5. All right, so I'm going to cut these in strips, and I want a cup. Let me just get those ends out of the way. And I'm going to cut it in half and cut it like that. Try not to do too thick. You don't want, you know, huge big slices of onion. And as I said, I want a cup. Break it up. And then all I've got to do is the chicken. So you can see it's another simple, easy recipe, which is the theme for this year. Thank you very much. And it's amazing. Like, it's one of those recipes that we always make. I always used to make. And that's why I used to vary it. That's when I started, when we made it so much. That's when I went, you know what? I'm going to try it with the beef, because that's what everyone normally likes. And then I did it with the veal. And that way the kids and my Billy didn't get sick of it. Because if you use the different proteins, it really changes the flavour of the stroganoff. All right, so now we've got a huge big chunk of chicken breast here. I'm going to open it up, and then I'm going to cut it into strips. So you can see if it's a really big breast, just do what I did, because that will thin it down a little bit so it's not such a big piece of chicken. Always use skinless, because the fat count is half when you use skinless opposed to the skin. And I mean, who would want the skin in it anyway? I mean, it wouldn't be nice, I don't think. And this is how I was able to drop it down from probably 40 grams of fat, which is the traditional way, by swapping the evaporated milk and the gherkin instead of sour cream, yeah? And then to use the chicken breast instead of, you know, like a skinned. Using the cooking spray instead of adding oil. I mean, they're little tricks, but they work. And I always say to people, you know, even if you just cook my recipes for dinner, you're going to be a winner, because normally this would be about 40 grams of fat. It's 4.5, so you've saved about 35 grams of fat. And so even if you just did that, that's got to help with your weight loss, for sure. Okay, I'm going to fire up my wok. Let me put the knife, I won't put it in my soapy sink because I don't want to cut myself. I'm going to crank this up. I'm going to spray, always using the rice bran spray because it's a better one for the neoflam, or any good quality pan actually. Now we're going to put a teaspoon of garlic in with the chicken, and we're just going to brown that off. And now that that's heated, I'll start adding in the chicken. Just do it a little bit at a time, and that way it doesn't take the heat down of the pan, because this is cold because it's just come out of the fridge. Now if you're doing the rump, you would just cut all the fat off the rump, you know, that white stuff. That's what hardens your arteries, people. Yes, it does. Even though it might go crispy golden brown when you cook it, it's not healthy. And it's a bit silly if you want to lose weight to actually just eat fat like that. Crazy. Get used to it, because this is how you'll learn to maintain your weight, by sticking with my recipes long after you've got to your healthy weight range. Or if you're maintaining your weight, or you just want to feed your family good, healthy, homey food, hello, I've got you covered, people, that's for sure. I mean, with 9 cookbooks, yeah. I'm going to just wash my hands. Get that chicken off. Alrighty. So I want to cook that for a little bit. I don't want to rush it. Let's just bring all the ingredients closer. I'm going to serve this with rice, and I always use the basmati rice. Some people like it with pasta. And I think stroganoff, is it, what nationality is it? Is it Russian or Hungarian? That's what it is. All right. All right, let's toss. This is enough for 4 people. Or if you're making it out of the cooking for 1 or 2, it says 2. I mean, you've got 600 grams of chicken here, so it does going to take a little bit of time to cook. Actually, can I mention something? Because I know you want to win the books today, so I'm going to preempt something a bit fabulous. So, in this book, it says here, bonus section. You'll notice that on most of the books, they'll have something here because I add little bonuses to each one that's different. And in book 2, it's the guilt-free Christmas recipes. Now, I know it's July. Why am I talking Christmas? Well, how many of you are going to do a Christmas in July? Well, if you are, check it out in book 2. I mean, I don't want to think about Christmas in December yet. Oh, gosh. Haven't even thought about what I'm going to get people this year yet. And normally I start shopping about September, so I've still got a bit of a way to go. But what I love about that is the fantastic puddings, cakes, you know, the mince pies, all that sort of stuff are fantastic. So you've got that if you're doing a Christmas in July. All right, so now what I'm going to add in is the onion. So remember, it was a cup of onion. Now basically this is my technique. I mean, say it with me, okay? Say it with me. Chop it up, chuck in the pot and cook it. That's right. Thanks for joining me today. I really look forward to my Thursdays with you, and I really do love your feedback. And especially if you put a photo in, that just makes me very fizzy when I see a photo of something that you've cooked. And I think you'll find the stroganoff one is just one that everyone loves. And I think because it's not full of the sour cream, it's not so heavy, and it doesn't make you feel a little bit, because I find if I eat something too heavy, I feel quite tired and I just want to go to bed. So you won't feel like that with this cooking. All right, now in goes the 3 cups of the mushies. Let me put these. I'll leave that here. Put them over here. Make a tidy kitchen. All right. I'd be curious to know, like, if I had to say my top 10 favourites, this is in it. And I've even done it with strips of tofu for vegetarians, and I've swapped the evaporated milk for almond milk. So if you are lactose intolerant, or you need to be dairy free, then I found that the almond milk, the no-fat almond milk, worked an absolute treat. I did have to add a little bit more corn flour because the evaporated is a little bit thicker. So just bear that in mind. So this is what I love to do. How do you get this anywhere else? Is I just try to give you so many little options and little tips along the way on Thursdays with Annette. And so to me, knowing you can still make this, if you've got a family member coming that's a vegetarian, make it out of the cooking for 1 or 2. So that's a smaller version, and you can make it specifically for them. Or if they're lactose intolerant, but everyone else wants the normal version. Yeah. Looking good. So what would if you had your top 10, give me one in the comments, just one that would fit into your top 10 out of Simply Too Good to Be True cookbooks. As I said, I would put, if you said that to me now, I'd go, yes, I'd put stroganoff in there. I want to know what you would put in as one of your top 10 recipes. Please do it for me because I want to hear about it. Okay, now we're going to chuck in most of the other stuff, okay? So in goes the gherkins. I'm going to put in the 2 teaspoons of stock powder. And I'm using the chicken stock powder, the Marcel. Let's do a tablespoon of sweet paprika. Can't say that enough for you. I've learnt my lesson. And 2 tablespoons of the no added salt tomato paste. I'm going to chuck the pepper in now while I can. There we go. Let's give that a good mix up. Oh my gosh, we're nearly done. That's how easy this recipe is, and it smells so good. I like it because it's different. You know, I like meat and 3 veg, but I do love a bowl of something with rice, especially in the colder months. But I love it to be banging with flavour, and this will not disappoint, I can guarantee you. All right, so we've coated all that. Fabulous. All right, so now let me just combine the evaporated milk with the skim milk. I might just turn that down a little bit. And I'm going to put in a tablespoon of corn flour. Now it does thicken up so if you made this this morning, for example, in the morning for dinner tonight, you may have to add a little bit more milk. If it thickens up, just add a little bit of skim milk. It won't be a problem. There we go. And the key is not to overboil the evaporated milk because it will separate if you do stew it. Like if that was sour cream, you could boil it to death, it wouldn't matter. But it does with the evaporated milk. And all you have to do is just once it's boiled, you stop. You know, or turn it down to simmer, actually not even simmer, just turn it down to 1 so it keeps warm if you're trying to keep it warm for the family for dinner. I personally just turn it off, and then when I want it, I'll reheat it again and gently bring it to the boil, and you'll never have a problem. If, for example, it does separate though, don't worry, it's not ruined, it just doesn't look as great, that's all. You can still eat it if that happens. All right. And I think that with this, as I said, I've got my rice ready to go. I've got some basmati rice here. You just got to bring it to the boil. So what I might say to you right now is, while this is happening, is how about we talk about how you can win this book, book 2, and, because you know this year I'm being very generous, you're going to get this one as well, which has this recipe in it for 2, which I find really handy for me and Billy. You know what I mean? It saves you having a heap of stuff in the freezer. I think it's brilliant. And of course there's the more cooking as well. So you've got that to use as well. All right, so if you want to win 2 cookbooks, all you have to do is like, share it, the page, and then hashtag Simply Too Good. Hashtag Simply Too Good. Put that in the comments, and I will pick 3 lucky winners. Yes, that's right. Okay, well, we're looking a bit fabulous here. I would actually serve some vegetables with this. I wouldn't just have it on its own. Even though you've got a lot of mushrooms in there, I certainly would not have it just on its own. I would want to add some extra fibre and fill me up more so. This is a great tip for you to not just rely on your proteins as the way you fill yourself up or your carbohydrates. Make sure there's vegetables, lots of colour on your plate when you're eating, and fresh is fabulous. Or in summer, I do love a salad. So, shall we serve up? Your dinner tonight, Sir Mr. Sym, is chicken stroganoff. There we go. Oh yes, bon appetit. This is a bit fabulous. As I said, this serves four. It's actually quite a generous serve, but I like all that sauce there as well. Now, next week's show is going to be another fantastic recipe. It's out of the More Cooking for 102, which is the almond crusted fish. Now, I will tell you about how you can add a variation to that if you're not a fish person with chicken and pork. So stay tuned next week because that is a great recipe. I love making that when I have guests come over because it's a little bit fabulous. I mean, look, who knew weight loss could be so deliciously healthy? Thank you for joining me for another awesome week. And you know what? If you want any more tips or recipes, you know where to go. Simplytoogood.com.au. Thank you so much for joining me this week, and I'll catch you next time. Bye now.